So anyway, let's get into this properly, shall we? I think. We're just going to go through it by each position. I'm going to say we've got better, worse, stayed the same, how much better and all that. Kind of give our thoughts on the squad as a whole. Some of these positions will probably fly through, like the goalkeeper one, for example, which is where we're obviously going to start. And maybe it's worth discussing occasionally, not always, what we think about a year's time, perhaps. Darlow and Meslier and Cairns, for example, in this position, Martin, all out of contract next summer. So this might be a position we have to think about in a year's time again. It's going to be one way or another, whether that's extending them or whatever. I can't see a way back for Meslier to be extended, but you never know in football, weird things do happen. But yeah, talk to me about the goalkeeper situation.
So it's definitely improved, in my opinion. Obviously, it's still early days on Perry, but so far he looks pretty assured at shot stopping. He's not had, other than the Arsenal game, which obviously we've gone over that game and all the goals in there. But in the other two games, he kept clean sheets. And just that in itself is a great thing, because we've had 2 clean sheets out of 3 games. And did any of the teams last season who went down have 2 clean sheets by the end of it? I'm not sure.
I think
by themselves, that is.
We've matched Southampton and Leicester. Oh no, Southampton and Ipswich and one behind Leicester or something like that. It's pretty close.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's quite early days. So I do definitely think the goalkeeping situation has improved. On the Darlow and Meslier one, I do not believe we would extend Mellier's contract. I do think that we will be looking to try to move him on before then, potentially try again in January. Darlow is potential to get extended, maybe just is a backup and is relatively solid, so he could end up being extended. And of course, I don't know when Alex Cairns' contract runs out, but it needs to also be extended because it's not long enough, no matter how long it is. It's
6-year deal, 10-year deal.
Keep him on for life, get him to be a goalkeeper coach after he retires. All is well.
Can I just say, before you go, Hosty, just one quick line? I think out of those other 3, I actually think Cairns is the most likely to get an extension. I'm not even joking. I think he's probably the one.
No, I agree.
Another year. Go on.
No, I agree. There's nothing really to add on the goalkeeper situation. We've gone over a lot of it previously. I think the issue with Meslier now is that it comes January and he can probably just sign a pre-contract and we can't get anything for him. It's a big issue that we weren't able to sell him unless he does go to Turkey in the next week and a half or Saudi Arabia. Yeah. I'm not sure if Saudi Arabia can have goalkeepers that are foreign nationals. I know that was an issue in the Chinese Super League, that when they were a big thing, that you couldn't sign a foreign goalkeeper. So Saudi Arabia might be similar, but so Meslier is a big issue for us. I don't think we're going to. I think the best that we can probably do in January is get his contract paid off, and so he goes somewhere straight away. Like if he does do a pre-agreement, but that's about it. But otherwise, like from a depth point of view, I think we're in a good position. Either way, and get Cairns a lifetime contract, sign that thing.
I won't add too much. I will say, I think Meslier is the only player on this entire list that we definitely wanted to shift that we didn't. There's some other ones that are like maybes. Maybe if you get a good offer for some other players here and there. But I think Meslier is the only one, as I'm looking now.
I mean, you've got him. He's on this list as kind of being third choice. It kind of looks, but he's 100% the fourth choice.
I think so.
The fact that we weren't able to actually get rid of him, or he wasn't able to find himself a move. If you take what Robbie Evans said about there wasn't a move that enticed Meslier enough to want to leave. Sounds kind of like he's thrown his toys out of the pram as well at being dropped and said, fine, well, I'll not let you be able to sign other players and I'm just going to sit here and take all that wage that you gave me in a new contract.
Yeah. And I think overall we're definitely way better off, even though it's early days and people have some reservations about Perry. I think this has actually become a slightly stronger position for us this summer, and that was important. And he's obviously of an age where he might be with us for quite some time if we do survive this season as well. Fullbacks next then, Hosty. Schmidt out, Justin in, Firpo out, Goodmanson in, the rest the same. That's how we are. I don't know how you see that. I don't know if you think we're a lot better or a little bit better or what it is, but I quite like the look of that, apart from the fact that maybe Byram's a bit higher up the pecking order than I might have liked, but I understand why we didn't do another fullback. And one of them can play both sides, can't he?
I think both of them can play both sides, right? And that's the other thing. Those two backups are versatile within them both. So you could have Justin being the first backup for both Goodmanson and Bogle there, and then Byram being the third. And like that is, to me, smart squad building. They haven't had to put an outlay on two of the players to get that. They've kept Byram in, who's probably not on that big of a contract anyway. He might be on a bit of a bigger one because he did get a new one for Premier League now, considering what he was on in the Championship. I think Goodmanson's an upgrade on Firpo, and I loved Firpo, and you all know that I loved Firpo, but I think Goodmanson's 100% a good upgrade. The way that he carries the ball is so good and so key to, if we are a little penned in, like there was a moment against Newcastle where we were a little penned in, and he kind of had three players around him, and he managed to just kind of burst through them in a certain way, and that's going to be really good for us and important for us this season to alleviate pressure. And so, yeah, I think we're in a really good position fullback-wise, and Jayden Bogle's had a fantastic start, right? Like, it's almost as if Sheffield United fans were lying.
Yeah, and good contract situations other than Byram's. He's the only one over the age of 27. He's the only one with less than 3 years. The other ones are all 25 to 27, all have 3 or 4 years. So we're pretty healthy in that front as well. No rush there. And like you say, it basically means Byram's just not going to play very much. If we've got, as long as two of the others are fit, they'll play. Whether it's Justin having to switch to the right or the left, it'll be 2 from 3 from that lot. And it means that you should be able to share out the minutes, Martin, which I think is also important. So it has to be said that, yeah, to me, Justin feels like a big upgrade on Schmidt, and Goodmanson, at least for the Premier League, he makes a lot more sense than Firpo. He might have even made more sense in the Championship as well, but definitely for the Premier League, as an athlete, as an all-round fullback, as a bit more solid defensively, made a bit more sense, doesn't he?
100%. He is one of my favourite signings of this transfer window. I've said so often that we don't often sign left backs, and they should be treasured like the rare unicorns that they are. But yes, Goodmanson is definitely, well, maybe not definitely, that's harsh on Firpo, because Firpo was very, very good, but at least in a Premier League meta standpoint, Goodmanson fits so much better. He's physically strong. He's quick. He can carry the ball well. He's defensively better than Firpo is. His position is great. Like you saw in the game against Newcastle, the way he got into position to block their biggest chance of the game and stop them from scoring. He's definitely an upgrade on Firpo for me. Definitely for the Premier League. Maybe in the Championship, maybe Firpo had an edge on him because he's not the most creative player in the final third, but he is very progressive, and I think that will be what he's mainly be used for. But I'm very happy with the fullback situation. Bogle is just a god. He's taken to Premier League life like a duck to water, and there's going to be so many Sheffield United fans who are coping very badly at the moment.
They got Jamie Shack. Jamie Shack.
Oh, as if there was someone who was saying that
if we see a drop in listeners around about now, we know why.
So I like Jamie Shack, by the way. I think he seems like a really nice lad, and I hope he does well there. But to say that he was better than Bogle was absolutely outrageous at the time from some of our fans and some of their fans.
Yeah, the worst. Sightseeing at night, doesn't he, sir?
Yeah. Go on, Martin.
Yes. Yeah. I've lost my place now after that comment from Hosty. But yeah, it's definitely a great area of the pitch for us. Justin will be a solid backup, and I wouldn't have any problems with him stepping in for injuries to either Goodmanson or Bogle. He won't quite offer the same progression or thrust into the final third what the other two would, but I think he would be relatively solid defensively, and he will be a good backup who I'll be fine to see. And yeah, Sam Barham is Sam Barham. I'd ideally want him third choice, same as you two, for both sides. Fine to come off the bench here and there, but I wouldn't really want him starting games in the Premier League at his age now. But yeah, it's good area to pitch in total.
I think really important to say here, We do have a few other players that can play fullback, and I actually think that Byram might be third choice right back, but fourth choice left back, because we haven't mentioned a certain Mr. Jackie Harrison, who I actually think is probably above him as the left back pecking order now. So it's probably very likely that Byram does not play very much, despite us seeing him at the Emirates against Arsenal.
Also, Martin, how old do you think Sam Byram is? Because you said you don't want him starting at his age.
Yeah, he's like 32.
32 this month.
31.
He's 32 this month, yeah. I don't think that's that old.
Well, it is compared to the rest of the squad. He is our oldest he's our oldest outfield player. Hosty, I'm older than you.
Yeah, but like, there's players out there who are 31 who are good fullbacks. Is what I mean. That are still playing.
Yeah, but
so like, I just have an issue with that at his age. I totally agree. I don't want Sam Byram playing.
Fair.
Like,
okay,
fair
point.
Mainly because
Okay, I'll replace at his age with at his quality. Is that better?
Yeah, at this time in his career, that works for me.
Okay,
because he's been injured for ages.
Is he our oldest outfield player? Is that true? I think he probably is. But yeah.
Who else could it be?
I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about that. But that's interesting.
I think you are right. Yeah, after Guy Lavogie's gone. Yeah. Probably.
We don't have many over the age of 30, do we?
No. Is it just Darlow who's older than him?
Oh yeah, Darlow and
He's not an outfield player.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking overall. I think the closest to him will be DCL.
Yeah, and we somehow still have an average age of 26.3 or something.
Or maybe Harrison. I'm not sure how old Harrison is now.
Harrison's only 28, I think. 29.
Yeah, 28.
At top. But yeah, Sam Byram only has 60 Premier League appearances as well. And it feels like he was there for ages.
Nice experience to have. We've laboured on Sam Byram.
Injuries.
We've had too much time on Sam Byram here.
Never too much time on Sam Byram.
Do you know what? Just on the age thing, I won't reveal my exact age to everyone listening. Some people will know, some people won't. But we signed. Everyone was aged between 25 and 28. Every single player that we signed was aged between 25 and 28, which was weird. Maybe something to talk about at the end with regards to squad building going into next summer. Anyway, let's move on. There are a few other players that can play fullback. We don't need to go into them. I really don't think Strout and Bornau will play there. They have done that in their careers before.
Ampadu has too.
And Ampadu's played like a couple of games. Bloody hell. If we have to do that, bloody hell. Let's talk about centre-backs then. A group that are all basically the same age. They're all 25, 6, 7. So... yeah, interesting one in that sense. But yeah, Jacobiel is one of the signings. Sebastian Bornau is another. And then we've also got Joe Rodon and Pascal Strout. That means, Martin, we've actually got 4 options at centre-back. Didn't have that last season. So that has to be an upgrade, right?
Yeah, it's definitely for me. I've seen some fans who are saying, why did we bring in a backup centre-back? And I just don't understand that logic. Like, you saw last season that we had spells where we had no real centre-back cover. When we had both Ampadu and Strauch injured. How can people see that last season and think, no, we'll be fine if we don't bring anyone else to centre back? Bielsa has hurt you guys too much, and I love the guy. But yeah, the squad, the centre back, is a really good area to pitch. We've got 3 very strong options and one who I'd be okay seeing as when the other players are out injured, but probably won't play loads. I think he's of lower quality than the rest, but he does still have a lot of good qualities. Good box defender. He's good aerially. Maybe a touch on the slow side, but I do think that he is still a decent player. But the other options much better. Having Rodon and Stroud can be all as options. Feels very good to me at this level.
Yep, totally agree. Hosty, this is a particularly strong area when you talk about other depth. If we are in a crisis, we've now got a big Anton Stach. We've got Ethan Ampadu. I wouldn't like to see him there that much. Ilya Gruber has played there before, so it's like, this feels
he says that he never wanted to play there again ever in his life, though, didn't he, after he played it last time?
Yeah, but still, it feels like a very strong area of the team. If there is somehow a crisis, we could definitely still play 2 that are competent enough at all times, in my opinion, which doesn't feel very Leeds over the last 4 years. I don't think we've had a really, really strong set for a while. Last season, obviously, Ampadu was having to play minutes there, as Martin says, and then obviously we didn't see much of James Debayo. I think he only played 1 game last season, but a lot of fans wanted him to play more in the Championship. He didn't, and he's been released now, so he was never going to be in the Premier League good enough for us, and so we've got an extra one. And even if Bornau doesn't play much, feels like we've got a good set, right?
Yeah, I think Bornal's a smart option for if we ever do need to try and see a game out against a big team, and we're starting to get pinned back and we've nicked a goal somehow. I think Bornal's the sort of player that'll do as well in those sort of low blocks, which gives us options of changing stuff again. We've discussed it before, haven't we? But we have that option at centre back as well of being able to maybe change our defensive setup with the players that we've got. But yeah, to be able to keep our starting centre backs, who were probably, I still think, the best centre back pairing in the league last season, without a doubt. Both have Premier League experience, and then to bring in top division experienced players and someone like Jacobiol, who obviously is captain Slovenia, captain Udinese in Serie A, and yeah, I'm just waiting for Jacobiol to really kind of put his foot down and be in the squad when Farke finally plays him.
Yeah, it might take a poor performance now from a Rodon or a Strout, but I'm almost like play him instead of one of them. Maybe might avoid that poor performance. Maybe we'll see. Yeah. So yeah, there is that, and a lot of our fans aren't quite high on him because of a game against Chef Wednesday's children. And I don't know what to tell you guys, but you've watched one game of him and a couple of pre-season games. Let's wait a little bit longer.
I also think that Sheffield Wednesday game, every player just wasn't at it. And when every player's not at it, you can't judge any player unless one player just somehow grabs it by the scruff of the neck and goes for it, like Bogle and Nonto did once Nonto came on.
Yeah,
right. Two. Once Nonto came on, Bogle and Nonto were on fire, and then probably if we kept that, I think we win that game in the 90. If we don't bring Dan James on, that's my honest
Dan
opinion.
James. Wow. Yeah. No, I get why you said that.
We do love Njogle. That's what I'm calling Nonto and Bogle now.
Njogle's dangerous.
Njogle.
I'd call it Bonto.
Bonto, that's good too.
Sorry to interrupt, just a quick one. If you're enjoying the video, be sure to like and subscribe to help us keep the content coming. And if you want even more, you can support us over on patreon.com/ASAW Patreon. You'll get bonus podcasts, exclusive articles, and access to our Discord community, all while helping us make more of the content you love. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Right, I'm going to see you two tweeting that at some point. That's great.
The Bionto link up.
But yeah, I have to say, just in terms of a squad building exercise as well, heading into next summer, the only one with a contract that will be ending in a year's time. Well, none of them are out of contract next summer, but Strauch will be in the last year. I guess we'll have a decision to make them. Although in selling in the last year is not as good for us because obviously not be quite at his peak in terms of value. But I think part of what the club have done here as well is not just to have the option, like you said, Hosty, to bring someone on late in games like a Bornau. It's also the option to play a back three sometimes occasionally. It gives us the opportunity to do it if we want to do it. And the second thing is if we do get relegated, you'd hope that at least two of these players would stay. And it'd give us at least two that have been left over from the Premier League that come down to the Championship with us. I don't know if that will be the case. If we do quite well in defence, it might be that we sell three of them, but I hope not. I hope we can keep at least two. But let's try and hope that we stay up as well, more than anything else. Let's move into midfield now then. I guess I'll go first because you guys have been first on the others. I'm looking at this list, defensive midfielders and central midfielders. So this isn't including Brendan Aronson, who probably played as an 8. He's probably the only other player in the team, really. I don't want to see any talk about Jacobiol and Pascal Strauch in midfield this season, please and thank you. If anyone keeps going on about that, it's going to really wind me up. So let's can that right now. Let's just put a lid on it. So in terms of midfielders, we've got 5 really for these positions, which is 5 for 3 positions, kind of a little bit when one's out, you're a little bit stretched already. Hopefully it doesn't become the case again that we have 2 out like we did recently. It's Anton Stach, Sean Longstaff, Ethan Ampadu, Altanaka and Ilya Gruev. I don't particularly love Ilya Gruev, and I don't think any of this podcast team particularly do. He will be in the last year of his contract in a year's time, so for me it feels very obvious that we'll keep him for the season and then sell him next summer, and that isn't a slight on him. If we go down, he might stay, but if we stay up, I think it will be a sensible decision to move him on and to upgrade this squad. Tanaka, we absolutely love. Ethan Ampadu is the club captain. Anton Stach is, I think, our best player. And then Sean Longstaff had an absolutely outstanding game against Newcastle. So to me, 4 players there that should fit into the 3 positions all season long. They can be moved around. I quite like them. The only thing to add here for me is Ethan Ampadu needs tying down to a new contract because he's also, like Strout, will be in the final year. It's come quick. That's come bloody quick, Ampadu being here as long as he has, but he's over 2 seasons now. And yeah, he will be out of contract next summer. In 2027. So next summer with 1 year left. And yeah, I love him as well. So please tie him down. But otherwise, yeah, it's a good set. The only thing I want to say is, please, Mr. Daniel Farke, if Ampadu is injured, consider playing Anton Stach as the defensive midfielder at the base of midfield, because he's played more of his career there than he has any other position, and then play 2 of the others ahead of him. If that's the case, don't be moving Ampadu. Don't be moving, Gruev into that position just because Ampadu's out. That's not what I would do anyway. So yeah, that's what I think. I think this is another one of the strongest areas of the squad when I look at it as a whole. This and centre-back I actually feel quite good about, which is maybe what the club did on purpose, Martin, because they wanted to have that core, that strong defensive foundation. No matter who the manager was, out of possession, we were going to be strong in that area. What do you think?
100%. I do think that is what the club have targeted, is to be solid in midfield, solid in defence, have a lot of height in those areas. All the guys that we've brought in have got a lot of physicality and a lot of height to them, and experience as well. That's to be said there. Stach has lots of experience in Bundesliga, and Longstaff obviously has loads in the Premier League. So we've got a pretty experienced area of pitch in midfield. And I just want to slightly defend Gruev. I thought he did okay against Newcastle. I think he surprised me in that game. I was not expecting a lot from him because he did really struggle in the Arsenal game. But he had an improved performance here. So if he can build on that, because he's probably going to be playing against Fulham, I'm expecting. So if he can build on that against Fulham and have another good game, Fulham have also got a pretty decent midfield as well. Also lots of physicality, and I think most Premier League midfields have got a bunch of physicality in the midfield areas. It's just required now, really, isn't it? And I think that's what the club knew, that a lot of clubs who were able to stay up over the past few years do have a very solid defensive unit, being that the core of the squad in midfield and defence, and that's why we look to bring in those areas first. Obviously, Mitchell was the first signing of the window, and he's not. That was Bornau was second, if I remember correctly.
And Biel was third.
Yeah, exactly. So we brought in 2 centre-backs in our first 3 signings. So it's clear that was what we was targeting. And then it was shortly followed by Stach, I think.
Stach and Longstaff.
I think Bornau was third and Biel was second.
Yeah, whatever.
Was it? Yeah. But either way, my point stands that the first signings that they went for were more of for the first team players who were expected to play loads of minutes, because Mitch, although he has played and started a game already, I do expect him to be a backup to DCL. So that of the starters, we went for the defenders first and midfielders first, and then looked to the attack. So yeah, I'm very happy with this. Stach is a fantastic signing, and I would agree, Adam, he is our best player. Although him and Goodmanson are tied for my favourite signing, but I do definitely acknowledge that Stach is the best player we've got, because he's brought so much more than what I was expecting. From where I didn't watch him a whole lot before he signed. We didn't get the article done. You didn't get the article done, Adam. But you have reasons. It's fine because you do so much bloody writing and all. But I was expecting just a big unit who can defend well and can do a job in midfield. But I was not expecting him to be as good as carrying the ball as what he is. I was not expecting him to be a progressive passer. I was not expecting him to be inside the top 10 for shot creating actions after 3 Premier League games.
He's also, so the similar stat to that is he's second for chances created in the league behind Bruno Fernandes. I wrote a piece about this week. I mean, he's taking corners, so there is that caveat. But other players are taking corners, and he's second, so fair play to him.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's good that he's creating those chances, and because that it will be some creativity that maybe we weren't expecting. Even if it is a good chunk of that is from set pieces, we still need that as well. We still need set piece chance creation. So yeah, I'm very happy with his signing Longstaff. Although most people were a bit meh about that when he signed. He's extremely experienced at this level. He's got tons of work rate. He's got great defensive awareness. He's obviously not a great technician, but for me, he's a very solid signing, and I'm very happy with it.
The thing with Longstaff, just quickly before you go, Hosty, is like, as much as people are down on him, he's actually a more important player for us in probably around 25 of the league games this season than other players, just in the sense that he's going to do the work that you need. That other midfielders might not be able to do it to the standard he does. I mean, Stack does, but yeah. Anyway, I personally think Stack is the most important player. And one last thing to add on him is that his availability is really, really good. And we needed that because in the Bundesliga, he plays like 32 out of 34 league games, 31 out of 34 league games. So we should have him fit, hopefully, for like 33, touch wood, 33, 34 league games this season. And that would be really big for us. So, yeah. But how are you feeling about midfield? Is there anything missing from midfield that you would have liked?
I think we definitely would have liked more of a creative 8 sort of thing. If we weren't going to get that, obviously we didn't get that winger or 10 that we discussed earlier on at the start of the pod. Just as another, like as a 6, so that we had 6 players in this area as well. I think like there's maybe that one short of depth. I know that we're not the biggest fans of Gruev in the sense of what he can do defensively in certain areas. We think he may be a little bit weak, but I mean, as you said, Martin, the way that he kind of stood up to Bruno Guimaraes was really impressive in that Newcastle game. I didn't expect him to kind of bully him as much as he did. Him and Longstaff really bullied Bruno Guimaraes in that game. And so I think there's probably use for him, but I don't want to see him too much. I think he's more my thoughts on Ilya Gruev. I would also much prefer if Ampadu's injured and everyone else is available that we see Stack, Longstaff and Tanaka. Yeah. But yeah, I think we're in a really good position with technicality and across the board with technicality and the kind of engine as well that they've got. We've seen 90s from Stack already. 390s and Longstaff. Sheffield Wednesday wasn't the game that Longstaff's going to thrive in because we had the ball, and that's not a Longstaff match, right? And then as soon as it comes against Newcastle, you see where his upsides are. It's when we don't have the ball. And that might, I know that Leeds fans do enjoy that tackling side of things, but it means that when you sign someone like that, because it's not been for Leeds, it doesn't seem like it's a pretty signing. But now it's going to look like it's a great signing because he's going to be the player flying in for everything. But because he's not fancy, that's why I think it felt underwhelming. But I think we all said it's a really smart signing at first.
Yeah, I think this is the first true position we've got to, by the way, on the list, and you've touched on it there, that we've come to that's like you can feel like a profile or a player is lacking a little bit, maybe. I think we're fine in the other positions we talked about so far. We've got enough numbers for season 1 anyway. We can look to upgrade in season 2. But yeah, this is certainly one of them. I think if Tanaka and Stack, who are clearly the most creative pair out of the 5, if they're both injured at the same time, then I am a little bit worried about this area of the pitch, to be fair. I think we have to play...
Gruev as a 10.
Oh, well. If we have to play a midfield 3 of Ampadu, Gruev and Longstaff, then we're going to have to hope that Nonto has the game of his life in the forward line, let's put it that way. And Bogle and Goodmanson are running up the fullback areas as much as possible because there's just not going to be a lot of creativity coming from midfield. Tanaka and Stack are the main 2 that might be able to do things and make things happen. But yeah, if we've got both of them injured at once, I will be like, what are we going to do today in that area? It's just going to have to come down the side, let's put it that way. So
also, before we move on from this area, I just want to also say that one thing which is best about this area is Anton Stack's Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that personality. I love it. Absolutely love it.
He's giving a bit of click vibes in that sense, isn't he? He's just a personality. He's a good character. And again, I do think we haven't even touched on this really, but so far, you briefly did, Hosty, when you said about Biel. He's captained his international team. He's captained at club level. Feels like we've signed a lot of players who have got some experience of being leaders and being captains. And honestly, when you're in a relegation battle, which we are, we're not going to be finishing much higher than 13 at best and probably lower than that. You need characters that can bounce back when you're losing games. And I think we do have that. I think Stack's another one. I think Longstaff's one. Ampadu and Tanaka are pretty decent in that regard. Strauch and Roden have captained the club now, both of them at different points. Byram's probably good in that sense. Justin's a lot of experience. Goodmanson, I just think there's a lot of them, to be fair. So yeah, quite a lot of strong personalities and characters. Is that enough for midfielders? Shall we move on?
Yeah, I just want to quickly add, because I was just trying to check what Gruev's age was, because I remember being kind of shocked at how young he is because he's 25, and in my head, like he looks like a 28-year-old, 29-year-old. But as I did that, as we've been recording, the ball's gone out of play and he's kicked Lamine Yamal on the floor in the international match between Bulgaria and Spain.
Has it gone viral?
Yeah, instantly. It was like the first thing 27 minutes ago that got posted.
Fabulous. That's something for me to write about tomorrow. Thank you.
So yeah, he's all of a sudden turned into a bit of a bastard on the pitch, which I know is something which we were kind of looking for.
If our fifth choice is a bit of a bastard, then the other four... Well, Tanaka's not a bastard, is he? But the other three definitely are. 100%.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of bastards in there. Anyway, we'll move on now. So, wingers is the next section. Obviously, we have lost Largi Ramazani. Obviously, Manuel Solomon is no longer with us and has gone to Villarreal to join with Thomas Partey. What a fun team that is. And then you've got, Noah Okafor, Willie Gnonto, Dan James, Jack Harrison and Brendan Aronson at the wingers. We've included Aronson here because it seems that we're not going to be completely wedded to a 4-3-3 this season, but it feels like we'll probably be playing that quite a lot more than any other formation. I can't imagine it'll be every game, but it'll be in most. And so if that's the case, Aronson will be used more out wide. He might occasionally get some minutes as a number 8. That's why we've included him here. Anyway, so in regards to wingers then, Hosty, we don't need to discuss the elephant in the room because we've already done it about what we didn't add, but what do you like about what we do have?
So I like Gnonto and Okafor. I really do. I think Okafor is going to give us something which we don't have, which is that pace and knowledge together, an understanding of how to use it. I think we've spoken at length about Dan James's pace being very good, but I think even now we're seeing, early signs in the start of this window that even while he's got that pace, he doesn't have his pace doesn't get him out of the situations. Like, it's not going to just save him because the defenders can read him a bit better, and so the pace, he's got to be even quicker with everything. Gnonto, I think, has looked really, really good at the start of... I like Gnonto. We're all big fans of Gnonto, and we think that he's going to be a good addition for this. I think integrating Jack Harrison, I get it. Like, I came at peace with it actually around about 2 weeks after I said, or maybe even a week after I said we're playing him to put him in the shop window, which I know that our editor Paul likes to bring up every now and then. That was something that I said. But I think from a player perspective wise, and I know that Dan's very much on board with this. I think Martin, you are as well. That he's got his purpose. He might not be the creative player that we need, but we saw against Newcastle, he nearly set up Calvert-Lewin. He nearly set up Brendan Aronson if Brendan Aronson knew how to actually run onto a ball. And I think that that's the sort of thing that Jack Harrison can bring to this squad. He can bring that kind of nice little deep cross. I think he's better at crossing from deep than he is from crossing within the depth of the 18-yard box with Jack Harrison, which means that we can get that crossing early as well, right? Like if we're chasing a game, we can go a little bit early with that. Brendan Aronson, the only thing he gives us is energy in this division, right? That's
that might be useful.
A bit annoying with him, but it's going to be useful at times. It is going to be useful at times, and so we've got. Dan James aside, in my opinion, I think we've got cover for different profiles that fit everything we need, apart from the Harry Wilson profile, right? I think winger-wise, profile-wise, we've got enough options, and we've got the right options, apart from that one that we're missing.
I think that's fair, Martin.
Yeah, I'd agree on a lot of what he said there. I do think that Okafor and Gnonto will be the starting pair for most games whenever Okafor is fit. I think he will be playing, and I think Gnonto is the same as well. I do think that maybe there could be some games where James plays with Okafor, because I do think that Farker is still a big fan of James because of what he brings out of possession. It's not like Gnonto has the most tackles and interceptions combined in the Premier League so far. No, definitely not. I've just made that stat up. I haven't. But yeah, I do agree with what you said about Jack Harrison, and I do think that he will have his uses. I also think that he can be a moments player. We've had plenty of moments of him in the Premier League in those 3 seasons, where he's been very effective at times. And
as
although
a
we
left
felt it,
winger, not a right winger.
yes,
Yeah, that's a
100%
key
that.
thing, right? That's a key thing.
Really
He has to
key
be a left
point.
winger for us. Yeah,
Yeah,
scored the goal that kept us up.
He did, and I do think that he can be effective at this level if you do use him correctly.
He scored the last open play Premier League goal we scored.
And it took a massive deflection.
There we go. Yeah, so that he has had seasons where he's been comfortably over 10 goals and assists, 2 seasons in a row. On those first 2 seasons, I believe is what he got off the top of my head. So there's no reason to think that we can't get that back. It's not like he's past his best or past his peak. He still is just really inside his peak age, if you look at him honestly in that respect, if you believe in the peak age thing. But I do think that he can be useful, and I personally, if Okafor isn't available, I would probably prefer to play Harrison on the left and on the right Gnonto. That would probably be my preferred pairing at the moment. I think James and Harrison have a lot of similar qualities. They're both strong out of possession. Obviously, James is the faster of the two, but Harrison isn't the slowest guy either. He's an athlete. He's always looked after himself in that respect, and he's also very strong. He's got a lot of bulk to him, and they're both are pretty cross-heavy players when they get into wide areas. Jack from deeper, Harrison from James from close to the box. So there's a lot of parallels between them, but I do think that Harrison's got more technicality to him. I'd probably trust Harrison from shooting from outside the box more than what I would do James, especially since James loves to do that thing where he cuts in on his left foot from the right side, which we're never going to see it gone because he scored that one goal with it. And then Aronson will hopefully be the one that we see the least out of these wingers that we've got, although he will be useful off the bench. I wouldn't really like him to see him starting any games unless we've got a really bad injury crisis.
Not at his age, anyway.
Shut up. Yeah, I'm relatively happy with the options that we do have, but obviously we've already mentioned the elephant in the winger room is that we don't have that really creative player, that set piece taker who can do a lot of things and unlock a lot of this side's potential, because set piece is a big thing that could be used really well for this club. Seems like maybe Daniel Farke wasn't initially all that convinced that set pieces could be a thing. I think he was asked about that, I think, in a presser relatively recently, and he said that wasn't the thinking in mind behind all the big guys. But now we're signing the set piece coach. So what's gone on there?
I'm sure he said, like, in one of the seasons when we've been in the Championship, he's made a point of that we didn't have big players, or we didn't have many ball attackers from set pieces apart from Strauch, and Strauch was
bloody
injured,
loads
right?
of them now. Bloody loads.
And so, like, at what point has he decided not to? Because I think what he said was he didn't care and wasn't too fussed about set pieces or working on them. In a similar way to Bielsa. Bielsa said the same. I think his point was that set pieces are so random, you shouldn't, there's no point working on them, just let them happen. Was kind of, I think, Bielsa's thoughts around it. I know that my mate, who's an analyst at Hull City at one point, he had told me that, like, it's such a low percentage that actually score from corners when you look at the total numbers of everyone. And so he always said, I don't understand why people bang on so much about them. But yeah, like, we're obviously getting a set piece coach now. Sorry, Martin, for interrupting as well on this one. But
right.
Yeah, it's just, why not get that upside from any 1% you can get? If you can get a 1% from having a set piece coach, 1% from having a set piece taker, 1% from having players who can attack the ball, you've got 3%. Right,
I think
that's
they're
an
all
extra
more than
3% towards it.
That's the thing.
They obviously are, but you get this is the. It's just the kind of thing that we kind of say, like, within the teams that I work with, we say like every 1% adds up, and eventually you're adding 10% to your game and 15% to your game and stuff like that.
Marginal gains.
Marginal gains.
Marginal gains. Yeah.
Yeah. Just for people that don't know, all 10 of the signings were 5'11" or more, and 7 of them were 6'2" or more. So just a massive team now. Just a clearly massive team. I haven't looked in to see if there's like a piece out there that does the average for each squad in the league. I wonder if that is out there, if it's worth someone doing it maybe, because that would be quite good.
I wonder who could do it.
Yeah, I could do it. It'd take a bit of research, but I could do it. Because, I just wonder where we rank now. I think we're probably quite reasonable, probably in the top 10 somewhere now.
I think we do one article by you, Adam, and one by Dan, and see where we end up on both sides things.
A little inside Discord joke there, I think. In fact, I don't even know if the Discord know about that one.
I think it's more an admin joke.
It's an admin joke.
It's definitely been brought up in the Discord, I think, as well.
But yes, wingers. Should we get back on track for a sec? Yeah, I totally agree. I won't add too much. I would have really, really liked that. Just one extra different profile. I think the winger closest to that in the list I'm looking at here is Harrison, because he can take a set piece. Okay, like I'll give him an okay pass. They'll be hit and miss, but there'll be a few that will hit, and he probably would get a few goals, assists from them. And then the most creative winger of the 5 by a mile in general play is Gnonto. He's the one that you'd put your hat on. Maybe he might just do something, might just conjure something up. I don't think many of the others are like that, which is why I'm a little bit worried about this area. And you've lost Solomon, who had a lot of goals and assists. You've got Ramazani, who, bless you, who had a good amount for the minutes he played. And so I know it's Championship and you're moving up to the Premier League, but, there's some output gone there. And I look at the list and I'm like, I don't think this has improved as much as other positions. I think this is the position that quite obviously has improved the least. That isn't to say it's not improved, because I do genuinely think that it has, by having, if we're considering Aronson as a winger now, when he wasn't last season, I guess that's an extra player. And then it's Harrison and Okafor for Solomon and Ramazani, with Aronson, like I say, and then James and Gnonto are the same. It's like a little bit better, but it's not a massive increase from what we had. So that's my slight concern. Age-wise, they're all good. Contract-wise, the only one of note that's running out of contract is Brendan, which might not be a bad thing. It might be easier to shift next summer. I suspect we probably will try to sell him next summer. He'll have 1 year left on his contract, and if we're talking about amortization, he'll be worth about £5 million. So much easier than currently he's 10 million, and that is a consideration as well. But yeah, I don't think there's much else to say here. I just think we are really missing that profile. So this is the other position in the squad that I'm a little bit concerned by.
On them being on like the fact that we've lost Solomon and Ramazani, and so we've like got Harrison and Okafor in. There's been a lot of talk of that, Harrison isn't better than Solomon and Okafor won't be better than Solomon, right? There's been a lot of talk about that online. I think that what they're not realising as well, that like Solomon would not be good for us this season as good as he was last season, because we're not going to be ball dominant. And the big upside from Solomon was the fact that, it came from us having a lot of the ball high up the pitch, and that's what we saw from him. He wasn't someone who really dragged us from our own half to the attacking half that we need to go into, to the opposition's half. That's the word I'm looking for. Whereas Okafor and Harrison, I think they've got a bit more of that in their game. They definitely can drive with it a bit better. So yeah, that's just one thing I also wanted to add on that.
Yeah, and just one other thing on Okafor, because I don't think we've given him enough praise actually, but as a profile, adding him in is really big for us because he's tall, and none of the other wingers are above 5'9". Harrison and Aronson about 5'9", 5'10", both of them. I think Aronson's slightly taller, but he's not going to play as much. So there's just no height. And then Okafor's about 6'1". He's nice and quick. He just brings something very, very different. And if you're going to be like you just said, we've gone from a ball-dominant team where Solomon was a bit slower, took a bit more time and a bit more patience over what he had to do. Whereas you've got Okafor, who's the exact opposite in terms of he's just going to be running a million miles an hour when he can, trying to stretch in behind, trying to attack the box in that left channel, in the half spaces. He makes a lot more sense for us in the Premier League. So, yeah, it's almost like, would I rather have Solomon in the Premier League or Okafor? Would I rather have Solomon or Okafor in the Championship? Probably Solomon, just in terms of how that works as a profile anyway. So, yeah, I think that's a fair point too. And at least Harrison has some set-piece ability because we needed a left-footed one. So I guess that's something as well. I don't like this position as much because I just feel like it's the one that's moved the least in terms of moving the needle.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I would have liked to have seen a bit more. Everything else, I feel like is quite a sizable upgrade, or at least a decent size upgrade. This doesn't, even though it doesn't have some upside.